truly a World Series. Slovakia, Panama, Mexico, Canada, the United States, Japan, South Korea, Cuba, Venezuela, and Dominican Republic. Hi everyone, this is Will O'Toole welcoming you to another edition of Park Ridge Sports History. In this episode, I want to focus a little bit on the World Series. I know I'm a little bit late to the game. Right now, it's a great series, 2-2. The Dodgers, of course, dropping game one, and that's one of the reasons why I want to talk about this, is that they gave up a number of runs in that game, double digit. So I want to take a look at the Dodgers and what their success rate is after they lose by double digits or give up double digit runs in a game. And I'm just using, obviously, this season, 2025. And the numbers are kind of interesting, to say the least. And, of course, Toronto's trying to win their first World Series since 1993. Of course, they won back-to-back in 92 and 93, winning the World Series, beating both the Phillies and the Braves in back-to-back. And they hadn't been back, as I use back, until this year. And, of course, in a way, this does not surprise me, because on previous episodes, and we're talking a couple of years ago, I thought that they had a core four, the Blue Jays, and it's finally come to reality, minus Cam Biggio. And they have really shown some guts here, coming back. They did lose the heartbreaker, the 18-inning game, and I saw the game until about the sixth inning, fell asleep. The funny thing is, usually I'm up at 2:30, and I didn't even think that the game was still going on. Woke up the next day and realized the game went 18 innings, 2 games in one, and lasted over 6 hours. And I could have turned on probably for the game-winning home run by Freddie Freeman. Amazing that you could sleep and the game was still going on. So it was, and that game, I actually thought this, when Freddie Freeman was thrown out at home plate by a terrific throw by the right fielder. I think it was Kemp Barger. I really thought that the series had turned there, because if you take a look at Freeman's eyes after he gets thrown out, I felt you could see a change. And of course, then there was the home run by Kirk. And I'm saying, wow, maybe I really made a prediction. But as the game lasted, the Dodgers and the Blue Jays really just hooked up in a pitching duel. Really, when you think about it, they went 8, 9, 10 innings of scoreless ball before the home run by Freddie Freeman. And that's why I want to talk about something that I'd heard on the radio after, or seen in the newspapers, after the Dodgers dropped game one. First of all, let me just tell you this. It is amazing that on the Dodgers and the Toronto Blue Jays, and I really do mean that this is a World Series, truly a World Series. Now, I haven't done a deep dive into this, and I am sure that there have been other series probably where there maybe have been more countries represented, but look at this. You have, of all places, Slovakia, which to me, I think of maybe hockey, maybe soccer, maybe a little basketball, and maybe skiing. But here's Slovakia with a player represented. Panama, Central America. Mexico, seen as Central America. Canada, our neighbors to the north, and of course Toronto returning. It is a shame that Montreal never made the World Series, because we would have had 2 of the international teams make the World Series. Of course, the United States, with the majority of players on both squads being represented. Japan, how do you not say Japan without Ohtani? The guy has been simply brilliant. I'll tell you, one thing I will disagree with, I still think Ruth is the best player of all time. And I know that many of the writers and reporters have been saying about Ohtani with the fact that he pitches and hits. But Ruth was an incredible pitcher as well. People don't realize that. And he threw an incredible World Series game in 1916 or 1915. Now, as I go, I didn't look that up, but I will look that up maybe as we go through the show. Then you have South Korea represented, so two Asian countries, Cuba, the Caribbean, Venezuela, South America, the Dominican Republic, back to the Caribbean islands. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 nations represented. And it is incredible how the game has grown. And as I said, we've had Australians in the World Series as the game has developed. We've had other Latin American countries obviously represented. And I didn't even include Puerto Rico because, obviously it's a territory of the United States, even though they compete in the Olympics separately and all the rest of it. But if you wanted to include Puerto Rico as part of a truly World Series, go right ahead. Now, I just wanted to take a look at this. First of all, I was amazed at how many World Series the Dodgers have been in. I wasn't amazed. Then I was amazed. Then I wasn't amazed because for a while there, from 1981, actually from 1988, when they won their last World Series over the A's, they hadn't been into a World Series since 2017. I mean, they hadn't been to a World Series in 29 seasons until year 2017 when they lost to the Astros. That's incredible, especially from one of your largest TV markets / population media centers in the nation. I mean, you can say the same thing with the Yankees. And by the way, I was looking at this the other day. The Yankees, I always like to reference 1965 to 1976, when the Yankees went 11 years without getting to the World Series. And then going to 77, where it took them 12 years to win a World Series again. The Yankees right now have gone longer than that era of winning a World Series. It is kind of incredible that the Yankees have gone that long because, to me, the 2000s and the late 1990s were just all Yankee success. So anyway, the Yankees, of course, have been their favorite opponent, I guess, in the World Series. They've actually played the Yankees and beat them 4 times, 1955, 63, 81, and last year, 2024. They lost to them 41, 49, 47, 49, 52, 53, 56, and I can tell you that was basically a decade of frustration, minus 1955. My mother-in-law, a huge Dodger fan, a huge Jackie Robinson fan, a huge Gil Hodges fan, suffered during those years. I mean, the Dodgers would come up real close and lose in 7. Get real close and lose in 6. So it was 1955 when Johnny Padres pitched that Game 7. It was real redemption. The road to perdition for Dodger fans was averted, and 1955 was just pure heaven for them. And of course, I never realized this. 1960, well, I did realize this. 66, they get swept by the Orioles. But I just want to go back. The 2 opponents that they met the most after the Yankees were the Red Sox in 1916 and 2018. They lost to them both times. And ready for this, the A's, who they lost to in 74 and in 88, both times while they were in Oakland. They also beat the White Sox in 59, beat the Twins in 65, beat the Rays in 2020, and then also lost to the Indians in 1920, and again, they lost to the A's in 74. So they split with the A's. Oh, and of course, they lost to the Astros in 2017. So for a franchise that has stretched over a century in existence, they've played 9 of the 15 teams in postseason. And if you want to throw Milwaukee in there, who used to be in the American League and now is in the National League, so maybe you want to do that and say, hey, they're in the National League. They faced them a prior American League. That's fine too, because I'm just all right now. Just like having fun with this. Now, here's what I saw, an article, and I can't quote it verbatim, but the gist of it I thought was this, and I could be wrong. I've been wrong a number of times, but it got me at least a deep dive, and it was, hey, basically I thought the onus or the theme of the headline and then the story was, is the Dodger pitching staff as good as everyone is saying? And this was after game one loss by double digits. So at the very worst, if I'm wrong or I misinterpreted the article, which I've done before, at the very least, I did some deep dive on the Dodgers for 2025. And this is how I did the research. I took the games where the Dodgers lost by double digits. Actually, two of them really where the Dodgers got obliterated. One was April 12th where they lost 16-0. And then later on in the year, and this was their worst stretch, Houston pummeled them. I mean, destroyed them on 4th of July, beat them 18-1. And that happened to signal their worst stretch, I would say, well, of at least all of these games that I'm doing this way, of the worst stretch of the Dodgers that this year. So here's what I did. I took the double-digit loss, and then I counted the next 6 games to see how the Dodgers did in a stretch of 7 games. For instance, that 16-0 loss, well, the Dodgers then lost 4-2. Then they won 5-3, 6-2, 8-7, 3-0, and lost 4-3. So in that 7-game stretch, they won 4 out of 7. They gave up as many runs as they surrendered, but the ERA was 3.33 overall, all right, including a shutout, 3-0, and a tough loss, 4-2 and 4-3. Not bad. Then their next stretch, they lost 11-10 on 4/22, 10 days later. Then they lost, ready for this? They lost 11-10, 7-6, 3-0. Then won 4 straight, 8-4, 9-2, 7-6, and 15-2 to win that set 4-3. All right, I'm just going to go through this real quick. They won a game, so this qualifies. They did surrender double-digit runs, but on May the 9th, they won 14-11. In fact, on that day, 14-11, probably one of the wildest games they played all year, the Dodgers, who were 93-69 on the season. And I want to talk about winning percentages in a second. On what day was that? May 9th. They won. They beat Arizona 14-11. They proceeded to lose 3-0. Still gave up just a few runs. 3-0. Then they won 8-1. Then they lost 11-1. I'm just going to keep that in mind. 11-1. 9-3 they won by. 19-2 and lost 6-2. Overall, they won 4 of the 7. Now, what I did with that 11-1, I then took that 11-1 score, put that on the top, and then 6 more games. That was their second worst stretch, probably of the season. They lost 11-1 on 5/13. Then they won 9-3, 19-2, dropped a 6-2 affair, lost 11-9, lost 6-4, lost 9-5 to go 2-5. And this starts a stretch of where they would lose their next set of 7 after surrendering 11 runs in a loss on 5/17. They lost 11-9, lost 6-4, lost 9-5, gained some fire, win 4-3, 3-1, 7-5, and then dropped game 7, 5-2. On 6/10, they lose 11-1. Then they win 5-2, drop a 6-2, win 11-5, 5-4, 6-3, 8-6 to go 5-2. One of their best records of the year. So right now they are 1, 2, 3, 3-2, 4-2 in 7-game sets where they gave up double digits. 18-1, as I said. They lost. Ready for this? Their worst stretch of the year. 18-1. Then they dropped 6-4. Then they lost 5-1, 9-1, 3-1, 3-2, 8-7. They surrendered 52 runs in that 7-game set, dropped all 7 affairs, and gave up 7.4 runs. Now, I didn't do earned runs. It was runs per game. And then only scored 2.4. However, they right themselves on 7/22. They drop a game 10-7, then proceed to win 4-3, 5-2, drop 4-2, 4-3, and then win 2 games, scoring 5 runs in each, 5-2, 5-4. On 9/16, they go all the way to 9/16. Well, I just want to say this. I included 9-run scores just to add a little bit to this. On 9/16, they lost 9-6, then win 5-0, 2-1, 6-3, 7-5. Drop 3-1, 5-4, but they still win the 7-game set. On 9-2, go back a little bit farther. They drop 9-7, lose 3-0, 5-3, 2-1, 4-3, then win the last 2 games 5-2, 3-1 to go 2-5. And then their last 2-5 set was July the 7th. They lose 9-1, 3-1, 3-2, 8-7, then win 2-1, 5-2, and drop 10-7 to go 2-5. And then, just to give you an idea, they had 2 other sets where they did that, but in those where they gave up 9 runs, they managed to win the game 7 set 4-3 in both sequences, in both events. Overall, the Dodgers went 8-5 in the 7-game sets. Overall, meaning they won 8 of these 7-game series. Their record was 36-29, 554 winning percentage. Ready for this? Or they scored 5.29 runs per game during these 7-game sets, these 13 7-game sets. On the season, they scored an average of 5.09. So that was a 4% increase in their runs produced. However, yes, so the writers were credible on this, that maybe the pitching staff wasn't that good, but it wasn't that bad either. They have a winning record, the Dodgers. Their ERA for the season was their runs per game defensively was 4.22. During this run, it was slightly higher at 4.48, a 6% rise in runs scored against them. But nevertheless, they go 36-29. This Dodger team, I have become more and more amazed with it, simply because they just have, and I was rooting for the Reds, and never did I think the Reds were going to win the series. But I really thought maybe, especially when they went up, and then you could see the tide changing. They were up 2-0 against the Dodgers in Game 2. So you're saying, wow, if we can just get one win here, it would be nice. Who knows what happens in the 3rd game? Anything crazy. The Dodgers just pummeled them. And it seems that way. The other night, Game 2, Dodgers come back, beat the Blue Jays, and I'm going to give you the score on that. Dodgers, the World Series tied 2-2. I mean, here's what the Dodgers have done. They lost 11-4, and everybody was concerned about their pitching staff. They rallied, and the Dodgers just shut down the Blue Jays 5-1. Yamamoto, who's now 3-1 in the playoffs, throws a complete game. Now I'm starting to think this, and I'm going to do a little deep dive for you on that. Then the Dodgers win the game 6-5. Only 3 of those runs were earned. So the Dodgers, from the end of Game 1 to the end of Game 3, ready for this? Their ERA was 1.24. They gave up the 9-run explosion in the 6th, held the Blue Jays scoreless the last 2 innings. Okay, Blue Jays basically, you could argue, just want to get the game over, so they felt they had enough runs. Sometimes you just go up there, maybe you just make the outs to move the game along. But the next day, the Blue Jays score 1 run in the 3rd. That was it. So now you're talking about 11 innings, 1 run, and then Game 3, the Dodgers give up no runs after the 7th inning. No runs. So you're talking about 1, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. You're talking 11 innings. I just wanted to make sure where they held them scoreless. Again, they did surrender a big inning, 4 runs in the fourth. So if you want to just say, I'll even give you this. They went from the 5th inning to the 18th, 13 innings, and only surrendered 1 run. Now, I know they lost last night. Again, the Blue Jays scored 4 runs in the 7th. Dodgers tried to get it close in the 9th, but still lose 6-2. So they've had those couple of explosions, 2 4-run inning for the Blue Jays, and then a 9-run explosion in game 1. Now, Dodgers were 93-69 on the year. It's a winning percentage of .574. So in these 13 game stretches of 7 games, where already they lost the first game, the Dodgers are over 500, but only 20 points below what they did during the regular season. It's pretty incredible. Because already I'm saying, with the exception of that one series where they win 14-11, the Dodgers have a pretty good winning percentage that pretty much is close to their season percentage. You know, they had some downfalls. They had some slumps during the season. Maybe you could say, yeah, they didn't win 100 games. But, man, this team is loaded. I was looking at this pitching staff. They're loaded. They're loaded. And let's just take a look at the Dodgers right now. Believe me, I'm not a Dodger fan. Even my mother-in-law is no longer a Dodger fan. When they left, she wants no part of them. She wants no part of them. But I was looking at the stats of this team. And, I was more focused on the year with the Yankees and the Mets. And just to give you an idea, they hit 244 home runs, drove in 791 RBIs, scored 825 runs. There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 guys in double digits with home runs. Kiki Hernandez, who only played 92 games, utility player, had 10. He had 10 bombs. Now, I know the game has changed, become more wiffle ball than anything else. But still, you have Ohtani with 55. And then you have 4 guys in their 20s. Freddie Freeman. Actually, you could even argue that Freeman had a down year. 2490, 295. You had Mookie Betts, also a down year. Oh, man, I'd love to have this as a down year. Hit 258, 20 homers, 82 RBIs, still drew 61 walks for a 326 batting average. And then Andy Pages, 27 homers, 86 RBIs, 272. And what I like about him is that he's maybe coming into his own. He's only 24, playing or manning center field. Got into, played almost the entire season in center, 156, but he's only 24. And then Teoscar Hernandez, 134 games. So he missed almost 20, still gave you 25, 89 and hit 247. Now, I know the batting averages aren't what they used to be. And, maybe I always romanticize. I always think that a great hitter is 30, at least 100, and hits 300 or at least 290. Okay? Will Smith was their top hitter as a catcher, hit 296 in 110 games. I know he was injured, 17-61. So you're talking about a Dodger team, at least offensively, that had a bad year. This is why I'm scared of this team. I know Ohtani's 30 years old. Freeman is 35. So you're going to have to replace at least Freeman. Ohtani will probably just be situated in the DH for the rest of his spot. And I honestly think this. I think they'll eventually probably make him a relief pitcher. How great would that be? Plays 162 games and comes in and pitches the 9th inning. And not only hits 50 home runs, but gets 60 saves on the year. I mean, that is incredible. I still don't think he's the best player of all time. I know he pitches. And I know he hits bombs for home runs, 55 and 50 and all the rest of it. But I think the jury should still be out on his career. Because there's a lot of guys knocking on that door who are saying they're the best of all time, led by Ruth, Ted Williams, Willie Mays, Hank Aaron. You can even argue A-Rod is a top 10 player, certainly. Pujols. So he's got a lot more. And I know Pujols plays first. He plays the outfield. I get all that. But Mays played a core, a center field. He played up the middle. Babe Ruth was a pitcher, won 96 games, including in the World Series. In fact, ready for this? I just want to do this. I'm going to look up Babe Ruth's stats just to give you an idea. And we've done Ruth before. I never mind going over Ruth, and I hate the Yankees. But doesn't mean I don't respect what they did. 1916, World Series against the Brooklyn Dodgers. Or they weren't the Brooklyn Dodgers then. I think they were the Robins. Just to give you, yep, they were the Brooklyn Robins before they become the Dodgers. But anyway, Ruth was 1-0. His ERA, 64. He threw 14 innings, gave up 1 run, struck out 4. No hit by pitches, only 3 walks in 14 innings. Only 7 base runners reached base. Does give up a home run, but you see my point. Then comes back and wins another World Series game and another World Series game. He actually won 3 World Series games, completed 2 of the 3, and threw 17 innings in that game. And his ERA was a little bit higher, but it was 1.06. In that series against the Cubs, he threw 17 innings, allowed 13 hits overall, 7 walks, 20 base runners reached base, but did not allow a home run and struck out 4. Boy, oh boy, I missed that. And I bet you those 4 were more valuable than the 15 or 20 that are being thrown today. I mean, when I say it's wiffle ball out there, it's a walk, a strikeout, or a home run. That's my only problem right now with the World Series. You have to enjoy this. The fact they had 9 runs and then 2 separate 4-4 rallies, at least the Blue Jays, you could actually argue, are putting together some hits and having multi-hit run-scoring innings instead of just 1 home run, okay, in the 3rd inning, 1 home run in the 4th inning, 1 home run in the 7th inning, and that's their entire score. It gets to be frustrating a little bit after a while. I think most baseball fans, look, the defensive players are without a doubt overall better. Better range, better gloves, better statistics, better metrics. It's almost like, and I know, and I'm sure every pitching coach will tell me I am wrong, and I probably am wrong, but from a standpoint of a fan, I wish the pitchers sometimes would just throw the ball over the plate, let the hitters hit. So many times in this series and in the postseason for October, guy drills a ball right up the middle. You're saying, oh, base hit. Nope. Because of defensive metrics, there's the shortstop making a routine 6-3 play. Ending. And it is, I'll argue, all right, I'll give you the argument, may be tougher to hit today because of all the metrics. I'll give you all that. But you know what? You got to learn to hit to the opposite field. If they're playing you to pull, you got to just learn that. You got to learn to bunt and do the little things to improve your batting average. All right, so where does this lead me? Right now we're tied 2-2. The Dodgers, and I didn't do the Blue Jays. Like I said, I only focused on the Dodgers because of the statement. I'm going to say this. I think the Dodgers are still built to be the team to beat. I think maybe the Blue Jays may be a year away, although I do like their pitching as well. I do like their hitters as well. Let's just give them a couple minutes here. You have, they hit on the season, the Blue Jays, 191 home runs. They had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys in double digits in home runs. They had a fun-loving and fun-looking, and I don't mean that in the slight, but he's got that Spanky McFarland look from the old Little Rascals. Alejandro Kirk, who hit a big 3-run home run in that 18-inning affair. 15 homers, 76 RBIs, 282 batting average. George Springer, of course, led the team in hitting. I tell you, he's put up some numbers where you're starting to wonder, is he Hall of Fame material? He's got a 42 WAR, and I'm not that big on that, but I shouldn't say that. I am big on it, but I'm not that big on it. It's not the ultimate, but these are some of the seasons he's put together. He's got a lifetime 266 batting average. Next year, if he stays healthy and he comes back full, he's going to hit over 300 home runs by next year for his career. He's got 796 RBIs, so he's going to have over or close to 900 RBIs next year. Now, what hurts him, and here's the deal. He was an all-star 3 years with that Astro team. Why I think you might be talking about a future Hall of Famer, because he is building up his numbers. He's still productive. Maybe not as great as his best year in 2019 when he was 39, 96, and 292. But if he gives you his first year in Toronto, 25, 76, 267, and does that for another 4 or 5 years, you're talking about a guy with 400 home runs lifetime. And if the Blue Jays even win this year or go back to the World Series, he'll be on 2 separate franchises. One that would have ended a long spell of more than 30 years of not winning the World Series, the Blue Jays. But the other one, and he's part of that machine of the Astros that wins their first World Series and then another one. And he was an important player. And you could actually argue maybe the Astros have not been the same team. Maybe they let him go because, as Branch Rickey says, you let a guy, it's better to let a guy go too soon than too late. I get all that. But Springer is still pretty productive. And he's been great in the postseason. I forgot to mention that. He's been great in the postseason. You might be witnessing one of those guys that you say, wow, you know what? He's got Hall of Fame numbers. And he's got a legitimate resume playing on 2 World Series teams. And I mean, 2 separate franchises that win World Series. And you could actually argue he was one of the integral parts in that, George Springer. So it's going to be a fun last 3 games. I'm still going to go with the Dodgers. I guess maybe my National League sentiment. I also think they are just a strong team. And I was really convinced after doing that little research, and I know it doesn't mean a lot, but it can. I mean, that's 13 series, 91 games, 13 times 7, 21, 2. Yeah, 91 games. So you're talking about half of the year. And if you're coming out winning 8 of those 13, and your winning percentage is close, maybe not perfectly aligned to your regular season record. If you notice, there was no real winning streak. And maybe if you take out the 7-loss one, now it improves greatly your winning percentage. Okay? The Dodgers seem to be the team to beat because they don't beat themselves. And they don't seem to get down. And you can't put them down. I do believe that the 18-inning affair, I really thought the Blue Jays had turned the World Series with that throw home in that game to them, and I was wrong. The right fielder it was Addison Barger, who chucked him out 9-2. Great throw, and I really thought when Freeman got up, I thought they were saying, "Wow." I really felt the series had shifted there, and of course, LA does come back, respond, and of course wear them out 18 innings to win the game 6-5. But then they dropped last night's game. So it should be interesting final 3 games. I'm still going with the Dodgers to win another World Series. Hey, this is Will O'Toole thanking you for joining us on Park Ridge Sports History. Shout out Howard Fredericks, who always produces the show and gives me a number of great ideas for show themes. Have a good day and see you next week.